What is going on, guys? Styx here with the Token Minorities, bringing you Week 6 of the VPL NU League, and this week we are up against Darude and his Aberdeen Azelfs. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot, and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And also, if you are new to the channel or have just not joined our TTM Discord, there will be a link in the description. We have channels for all of our draft format leagues, as well as a Smogon channel and a TCG channel, which is the other content that I do. So if you have not checked that out, please do. It is, honestly, it's a great time if I do say so myself. But anyway, on to the team. Like I said, we are up against Darude and his Aberdeen Azelfs, and he is bringing a squad of Serena, Rhydon, Aromatisse, Rotom, Silvally, Steel, Absol, Swoobat, Monferno, Bibarel, or Bibarel, however you want to say it, and Sliggoo, with Absol, Swoobat, and Bibarel being his 3 Z users. So really, like, his team is actually very threatening. Silvally Steel is, in my opinion, the best Silvally type, and that is something that is definitely going to be somewhat of an issue for me. That being said, I do have ways around it, but Silvally Steel being the best Silvally type is something that I am going to have to look out for. And in particular, I am terrified of 3 Pokemon. Well, not terrified. I am terrified of 2 Pokemon and scared of a couple others. The 2 Mons that I am absolutely terrified of are Rhydon and Swoobat. So Swoobat outspeeds my entire team if nothing on my team is Scarfed, which, I mean, of course I'm going to bring it if Swoobat's that big of a threat. And also with Simple, it can immediately get to +2/+2 in special attack and in special defense with a Calm Mind boost. So that's something that can snowball very quickly. And then also Rhydon just being able to hit insanely hard, 130 base attack, not special attack. Sorry, I'm mixing up physical attack and special attack right now. But 130 base attack is absolutely insane and is going to be something that I just have to deal with, considering my only ground immunity on the team is just absolutely destroyed by Stone Edge. So I'm definitely going to have a lot of contingencies for Rhydon, especially considering it gets 2 different boosting moves in Swords Dance and Rock Polish, and can run an incredibly scary combination with both of those in, I mean, a Double Dance Rhydon with Edgequake just covers my team perfectly, so it's something that I'm definitely going to have to watch out for. The other Mons that I am worried about are going to be Rotom, just because Rotom Ghost is, I mean, yeah, Rotom is a very, very good Mon. In fact, he actually sniped me in the draft on Rotom. That was a Mon that I was really, really looking forward to picking. But unfortunately, Darude also knew that it was such a good Mon as well, so he snagged that before I could, and Rotom just has a annoying speed tier. It'll outspeed my Scarfer, which, I mean, you can see is probably going to be the Passimian. But also the Absol and Bibarel are 2 things I am scared of. Absol just because, once again, 130 base attack is nothing to scoff at, and something is going to get hurt very, very badly by a stab knockoff. And also with Absol having the Z move, I mean, something is going to get hurt very badly by Absol whenever it comes in, so I will have to figure out how to work around a Swords Dance set so that Sucker Punch doesn't just sweep me. And then Bibarel also with Simple being able to Swords Dance up to get to immediate +4, or Curse up to get to +2/+2 immediately as well, is something that I'm going to have to watch out for and have contingencies for. That being said, my team threatens him very, very, very badly. So first thing that you see on the screen is going to be the Delphox, and Delphox, if it clicks the right move, basically gets an OHKO whenever it's in. I mean, the only things that would not get OHKO'd by one of the moves that I have listed are Sliggoo and Aromatisse, both of which get hit very hard by a Choice Spec Psychic. So Delphox, if I click the right move, will be able to just take knockouts whenever it is in. And also, Fire Blast is just a very spammable move against him. Psychic, not so much because he does have the Absol, but Fire Blast, even against a resisted hit like against Rhydon or Bibarel, is going to be doing quite a chunk. Even Monferno, unless it's like Spadef Monferno. Sliggoo can take a Fire Blast very easily. However, I do have Mons that can switch into that. So Delphox is just going to be something that when it's in, I am going to be trying to claim lives with it. And yeah, pretty much that. So choice specs to hit as hard as possible. Fire Blast, Psychic, Grass Knot for coverage. I mean, Fire Blast is just the move that I'm going to spam against his team as it hits everything very, very hard. Psychic covers what Fire Blast does not hit. And then Grass Knot is really just for Rhydon, but I guess in a pinch it can also be used for Bibarel, even though, or Bibarel, I'm going to go back and forth, just warning you guys. But Grass Knot is mainly for Rhydon, just being able to take a clean OHKO on that thing, as Bibarel is probably just going to get hit by Psychic anyway, or Grass Knot can still be used to hit that thing super effectively. The EVs, it's a very simple spread, just enough speed to outspeed Timid, max speed Rotom, maxed out my special attack to hit as hard as I can, and then threw the rest into HP, and luckily it was an odd HP number, so I didn't have to finagle those EVs at all. Next up, we have the 3 mons that are going to make up my defensive core for this matchup. The first one being Seismitoad, as Stealth Rock are going to be very important for a lot of different things and just wearing stuff down in this matchup. Seismitoad is going to have leftovers as one of the few times I'm bringing leftovers, because I really don't see a whole lot of room for just random grass coverage. I mean, Serena obviously can have it. I mean, anything can run Hidden Power Grass, Swoobat can run Giga Drain, but I don't see Rindoberry being as entirely necessary as it is in other matchups, so that's why I'm going with leftovers to give myself some more longevity. And as for the moveset, we have Stealth Rock for passive damage, Toxic just to wear things down like Aromatisse, Rotom, just basically anything that wants to switch in to Seismitoad to try to take advantage of the fact that I'm not really hitting as hard as an offensive Mon would. Just Toxic is able to wear that down, maybe force an Aromatherapy out of the Aromatisse. Scald and Earth Power are my coverage moves of choice. Scald just for burns and hitting Rhydon super effectively. Then Earth Power just rounds out my coverage, just being able to hit everything on his team, at least neutrally, if not, well, not the Serena, unfortunately. However, I do have 2 mons that take care of Serena very, very well, so I'm not too particularly worried about Seismitoad being able to hit Serena super effectively. The EVs, 52 in speed in order to outspeed Jolly Rhydon. The special attack is just enough to OHKO max HP Rhydon after rocks, and you guys might as well get used to hearing Rhydon's name in a bunch of these calcs, because, I mean, that was the thing that absolutely terrified me. So a lot of my team is centered around being able to knock out Rhydon and either outspeed and OHKO it, or be able to take hits from it, and just, yeah, basically a lot of my calcs are centered around Rhydon is what I'm going for. I maxed out HP to take hits as well as possible, and then just threw the rest into defense because most of his mons are physical attackers, and his special attackers I have ways around, including the Venusaur, which even though I will be impish, or I will be a defensive nature on Venusaur, not impish, I'm actually bold on Venusaur, spoilers. His team isn't really threatening on the special side, so I am able to just go defensive on these mons in order to try to take those on as well as possible. Next up, we have a physical Garbodor. I learned my lesson from trying to run special Garbodor because it did absolutely nothing to a Spadef Mudsdale. But we have Rocky Helmet Aftermath. I absolutely love that item on Garbodor because it basically makes our opponent kill themselves if they want to go for any sort of physical move. And then we have, for the moveset, Toxic Spikes, love those things, Stomping Tantrum, Seed Bomb, and Gunk Shot. Toxic Spikes, he has nothing on his team that can absorb Toxic Spikes, so it forces a Defog out of Silvally or a Rapid Spin out of Serena, just that type of thing, just forces him to take up a move in order to get rid of my Toxic Spikes, otherwise they will be there and they will be a huge detriment to his team. Stomping Tantrum lets my Garbodor take advantage of Silvally Steel, who otherwise would be a great switch into my Garbodor in order to try to switch in, be immune to Gunk Shot, my Stab, and get rid of my Spikes or Rocks, whatever I happen to have on the field at the time. Stomping Tantrum just allows me to hit that thing super effectively, as Silvally does not have any recovery outside of rest, so the sooner I can get that thing worn down, the sooner my hazards will be there to stay. Seed Bomb is for the Rhydon, just be able to hit that thing super effectively so that it can't just come in and try to take advantage of my Garbodor. Yes, I do have Seismitoad and Venusaur for the Rhydon, but you can never have too many checks to Rhydon, so I figured that, you know what, Seed Bomb works in that slot. And finally, we have Gunk Shot just to hit the rest of his team. things like Aromatisse, Serena, that want to come in, Swoobat if it tries to set up on me, Absol once I take a hit. So that's really what Garbodor is there to do. Get up Toxic Spikes, make his physical stuff, kill themselves with Rocky Helmet and Aftermath Recoil, and potentially get off some damage with one of my coverage moves. As for the EVs, once again, we have 44 speed in order to outspeed Jolly Rhydon. Told you that name would come up more than once. Enough attack to be able to 2-hit KO max HP Rhydon with Seed Bomb after 2 rounds of poison in 1 round of rocks. This is a very, very specific calc because I wanted to still have a good amount of defense and HP, and there really wasn't anything that I could hit with Garbodor unless I invested a ton more in attack, which I did not want to do. I wanted Garbodor still to be able to take a good amount of hits. So I only threw 132 in there because it still hits hard enough to deter setup from my opponent's threats, but I also still have enough investment to go max HP and throw in a good amount in defense in order to take hits as well as possible. And finally, rounding out my defensive trio, we have Venusaur with Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Knockoff, and Synthesis. This thing just walls his entire team apart from Swoobat, and I mean, if Rotom tricks me, then it can do that. But apart from Swoobat and potentially Monferno, Venusaur walls his entire team. I can Synthesis up against a lot of stuff. I can Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Knockoff as my coverage moves. Yes, it does have a rough time against Silvally Steel. I went back and forth as to whether or not I wanted Knockoff or Earthquake in that slot, but I ultimately decided on Knockoff just because Venusaur is my main way of taking care of Rotom, switching in, healing up, all that stuff. So I figured hitting Rotom super effectively, also getting rid of Rhydon's Eviolite and leftovers on anything else would be definitely more beneficial than just being able to hit Silvally Steel a little bit harder. Plus, I do have Garbodor and Seismitoad and Delphox and Passimian and Zangoose to be able to hit Silvally Steel super effectively, so I figured that I kind of had my bases covered on that front. And then just Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb to be able to hit whatever I need to for enough damage. As for the EVs, 4 in speed to outspeed Jolly Rhydon, big shocker there. Defense is to guaranteed live 2 Jolly Earthquakes after rocks, and then the special attack is to guaranteed Oko max HP Rhydon. Now, the reason I went with 2 Jolly Earthquakes after rocks is because that, first of all, Venusaur guaranteed outspeeds Rhydon without Rock Polish. So that means if Rhydon is in, Venusaur is going to... I'm hard switching my Venusaur into Rhydon. If he goes for Rock Polish, then I will live the 2 Earthquakes, and I'll be able to Oko him back. I'll just be able to live the single Earthquake and knock him out with Giga Drain. Now, if he goes for Swords Dance, I'm guaranteed going to be able to outspeed with my Venusaur and knock him out with Giga Drain. So basically, the only way that Venusaur is going to be in a bad position with Rhydon is if he somehow gets to +2 on something, and then I have to hard switch Venusaur into an Earthquake. So basically, Venusaur only lets him get up either a Rock Polish or a Swords Dance as I switch it in, and only one at the absolute most, and then it will kill him back regardless. So basically, this is just my way of maximizing what Venusaur can do while also having a little bit of offensive output so that I can just spam my moves like Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb to do maximum damage against his team. So yeah, that's the Venusaur right there. Next up, we have the Scarf Passimian, which was a last-minute addition just because I kind of shied away from Passimian at first because against his team, being locked into a move means that he has stuff that can take advantage of the move depending on what he has. And so, I mean, while Passimian does have super effective coverage for everything, being locked into something is very, like, he has Aromatisse for me being locked into Close Combat, Knockoff U-Turn. He has Rhydon for me being locked into Gunk Shot. He has Silvally Steel for me being locked into Gunk Shot. Like, he has things for whatever move I choose to lock myself into. So at first I was kind of deterred by that, but then I realized that Passimian, okay, I mean, like, yeah, I can't necessarily, just sweep with Passimian, but its revenge killing potential is insane, which is ultimately why I decided to go back in there and put Passimian in this spot, because 120 base attack is nuts. Like, that hits so incredibly hard. Not quite as hard as 130, but 120 is still very, very nice, and I'm okay with that. So I have Close Combat, Gunk Shot, Knockoff, and U-Turn like I said. Close Combat, just my main stab. Gunk Shot for the Aromatisse. Knockoff for the Rotom and Swoobat mainly. This is my way of revenge killing Swoobat if it tries to get set up. If it's able to get set up, Knockoff just obliterates it. And then U-Turn just for some momentum, like if he tries to scout out my Close Combat, goes into Aromatisse, I can take advantage of that and go into one of my 2 poisons or my fire type, just get myself some momentum, even get Zangoose's Toxic Orb up. Now as for the EVs, we have 176 speed, which allows me to outspeed Zubat, allows me to outspeed Swoobat. I could outspeed Jolly Rhydon at +2 if I decided to go Jolly, but I decided against that, thinking, okay, I already have Venusaur and Seismitoad. Venusaur just being a hard counter to Rhydon. I don't need that much investment in order to try to beat Rhydon, because I think I pretty much have that covered. So I figured that Passimian could afford to run Adamant just because the damage output is actually very significantly different. So I decided to go with Adamant, and I'm hoping that it ends up paying off. The speed, once again, is for Swoobat. I could also outspeed Absol, but again, if that thing is Scarfed, I have plenty to deal with it because it has to lock itself into a move like Passimian does. And no matter what it locks itself into, I will be able to take advantage of it, and that also means it's not going to be able to be like Choice Band or Life Orb, which is a real problem for me. So if Absol is Scarfed, I'm honestly not as worried about it. So I decided to go with Adamant in 252 just to hit as hard as possible whatever wants to come in. Then through the rest in HP, just, maybe take a hit or two. Depends on what the situation calls for. And finally, we have Zangoose with Facade, Quick Attack, Knockoff, and Close Combat. This thing just straight destroys him. I mean, everything on his team just gets blown back by Zangoose. Rhydon is the only thing that can really take a hit. And if I knock it off, then it's much less of a threat because Close Combat just destroys it afterwards. So Zangoose, with all of those moves, Quick Attack also allows me to pick off Swoobat and play through some of the Sucker Punch mind games of Absol. Knockoff is for the Rotom and the Rhydon, and then Close Combat is to hit Rhydon and Silvally super effectively if the situation calls for it. So yeah, that's a team. I'm just trying to go offensive with 3 very hard-hitting Mons and then a defensive backbone that I do not think he can break. So let's go ahead and jump right on over to the game. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that he did not bring Rhydon or Rotom, both of which are absolutely gigantic for me, and also he didn't bring the Swoobat, so the 2 things I was most scared of he did not bring, and based on what he has in front of me, it looks like Venusaur might just straight be able to take this game home just by walling pretty much everything, because even Absol, apart from SD Psychium Z, I don't think will be able to break through my Venusaur, apart from, potential crits and flinches, which, I mean, we all know happens a lot, especially to TTM members. So nothing is given, that's for certain. But regardless, let's hop right into it. I am going to go ahead and lead with my Passimian, as I can just U-turn out on whatever he has. And he leads off with his Silvally Steel, now thinking that he's going to over-predict the fact that, okay, so with his team, he 100% has Aromatisse. He knows that I see the Aromatisse, so I'm going to predict him to predict me to predict the Aromatisse, if you followed what I was saying there. And I'm just going to go straight for the Close Combat, thinking that, okay, if I U-turn, he'll probably just Parting Shot and get the switch advantage. So I'm just going to go balls to the wall immediately, Close Combat, turn 1, and I'm able to take out that Silvally Steel, which is absolutely gigantic for me, meaning that once I get my hazards up, they will be here to stay. So he is going into his Thick V2 as I go into my Thick, seeing that he has Aromatisse out, and he goes into Absol. So just scouting to see what this Absol wants to do, I'm going to stay in and go for the Sludge Bomb, as I do tank that Zen Headbutt very nicely. I mean, Venusaur is thick, like I said, but not wanting to take another Zen Headbutt, risk a crit, or a flinch. I'm going to go straight into my Seismitoad and get up rocks as he brings in his Sliggoo, and not wanting this thing to set up on me with Dragon Dances or Curses or anything like that. I'm going to go straight for the Toxic, force it to rest, because I do have things that can deal with it apart from that, as he reveals Infestation. So now I'm a little bit worried, because Seismitoad can get worn down by Infestation Sliggoo. So, I mean, I just take this turn, get up my rocks, see what happens. And now that Sligoo does miss the Toxic, which is unfortunate for him, he is going to switch out into his Aromatisse as I Earth Power and get a crit. Now that really sucks for him. I do feel bad for that, as he is forced to wish. I mean, he might have been able to go a little bit more offensive if I didn't crit him, but regardless, I'm going to go into my Garbodor, get up my Toxic Spikes. His most likely Defogger is gone. He does still have the potential Serena for Rapid Spin, but either way, that thing does have to come in and will get poisoned as my opponent goes into his Bibarel. And now I'm not going to let this Bibarel get a free Swords Dance or Curse, so I'm just going to stay in and go immediately for the Seed Bomb. I mean, he will have to hurt himself in the process of taking me out, as he does end up right there. Now you see that I'm going to go for the Gunk Shot. So first of all, the reason I went for Gunk Shot over a second Toxic Spike, so it was obvious that he would end up taking himself out. I'm pausing here. I'm going to try not to pause as much in this game, but I'm pausing right here just to explain what my thought process was. In the game right now, I have one layer of Toxic Spike. I actually like one layer of Toxic Spike more than two, just because it gets me more immediate damage against his team, and that's what I think is going to help me most in the long run. So yes, I could have gotten a second layer of Toxic Spike up for free, but one, if he ended up being rest on his Bibarel, I wanted to try to punish that and not just give him a free rest, and two, I didn't want that second layer of Toxic Spike just because I like that extra 6% that I get immediately. So that's why I went for Gunk Shot right there, as the Bibarel does just take itself out with my Rocky Helmet, and my opponent is going to go into Absol. And not wanting to sack off my Garbodor just yet, I'm going to go into my Seismitoad, take whatever hit this Absol wants to go for as he goes for the knockoff. Not even a 2-hit KO, so Seismitoad is going to be able to just stay in, and I'm going to go for the Scald. As he goes for a Z-move, I thought immediately that it would be a Black Hole Eclipse, but turns out to be Twinkle Tackle. I guess for the Guzzlord, which makes sense, and Scald. Actually, you know what? Twinkle Tackle was probably SD Twinkle Tackle for Volibee, which otherwise would have been able to chew the hit. But Seismitoad is able to eat that up, and I'm able to knock out the Absol as he is going to go into his Serena. And I don't want to sack off Seismitoad just yet. Just in case he Rapid Spins, I want to be able to stay with my rocks. But he does go for the U-turn, which, I mean, doesn't really reveal anything about this Serena apart from the fact that it is offensive and he goes into his Sligoo. Now, I could very well just Synthesis up, but I decide I don't want him infestationing me and trying to set up, take advantage of my Venusaur being trapped. So I'm going to go into my Zangoose knowing I can take any hit and get my Toxic Orb set up, and then just Facade something and knock it out. So Sligoo does go down right there to my Zangoose, but now he goes into his Serena. Quick Attack, even if he didn't have Queenly Majesty, will not knock it out, so I am just going to go straight into my Venusaur. Maybe I can catch him on like a high jump kick or a trop kick, something like that, but he does go for knockoff and gets a crit. I mean, that really doesn't end up mattering a whole lot. All it means is that Venusaur cannot wall this Serena, so I'm going to save Venusaur because I will be able to Synthesis up on the Aromatisse later. Go to my Garbodor. He's not able to knock it out with knockoff just yet, so I am going to be able to get the aftermath damage and the poison damage on the Serena, and at this point it is GG, because I know he has to go into his Aromatisse, which is at a low amount of health, as I'm going to go into my Zangoose, and I will just be able to blow this thing back with a Facade. Now, I did feel bad for that Earth Power crit earlier on the Aromatisse, and also the Toxic Miss on my Seismitoad did end up coming into play, as Seismitoad did live with 2%, which it would not have had if it was Toxic. So, I mean, really it should have ended up being a 4-0 for me, but regardless, that's how it ended up. And also, even if Aromatisse still had a little bit more HP, Zangoose, without the crit, would have been able to knock it out with Facade from that range. I'm pretty sure, at least. I don't think that even defensive Aromatisse at 60% can take a boosted Toxic Orb boosted Stab Facade from a Zangoose. So we are able to take the game 5-0 right there. If I wanted to preserve the 6-0, I could have, with his Serena being locked in to knock off. I could have just gone past Simeon, chewed up that hit, and then just taken my kills from there. But I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be BM about it. So, again, are able to take the victory 5-0 and move to 6-0 in the VPL NU League. Next week, we are up against Sebasculin, who is going to be a gigantic threat. So, GG to Darude. I'm about to go prepare for Seb. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.